All right, and we are sitting down with Keith Brown. So I really, really wanted to set up this interview. So for those who are not aware, Keith Brown was the narrator, voice actor behind the audiobook for my book FAIK. I had a lot of trepidation when it came to selecting the voice who would voice that because it's out of the author's control. Unless I'm guessing you're like Stephen King or somebody like that, you don't get to pick your voice actor. And there was a lot of dramatizations and things that needed to have a little bit of a witty undercurrent to it. So I had a lot of trepidation. And as soon as I saw the book and the narrator name show up in some of the online spaces that they show up, I immediately Googled Keith and looked at his repertoire. I was like, oh, okay, he's doing fiction work. He's doing things that have voices and accents. I'm very much more confident now. And then when I finally heard the recording, I was like over the moon. It's like, oh man, thank God. Not only is it good, but it is better than I could have expected, and certainly better than I could have done myself. So Keith, with that, thank you. As I finish gushing for a second, thank you so much for your work on the book, and thanks for joining us today.
What a pleasure, Perry and Mason. What a pleasure, and thank you so much. I mean, look, your kind words. We so rarely get to hear that kind of direct feedback, I think, on our work, and hearing directly from you that you're pleased with it is, I mean, that's kind of a fuel that we can hold on to, because there are always, no matter how successful we are, as you know, as creatives, it's always many more no's than yeses. So to hear that you got the job, and then you did the job, and you did your best, and it was really enjoyed and reaches people, that it means everything. So thanks a bunch for that. And this was so much fun to record. So fun.
Talk about a book that is not easy to read aloud, though. You had to pivot from authoritative to being an AI talking as a Gen Z influencer. That's sticks out in my head because you crushed it.
Yes,
it was so amazing. Good. Yeah, Perry's like, here, you have to check out this clip, and it was awesome.
Let me tell you, I can't tell you how good it is to hear that, because I remember thinking, as we always, at narrators, professional narrators always read the whole book, kind of hunting for any pronunciations, and kind of, we have to suss out, what are we connecting to here? What's the emotion? What's the meaning and all of this? What are we trying to say? We're doing all of this stuff, and I'm going through, and I'm like, oh boy, I get to do little mini sections of fiction, and it's like we're in a thriller now for 2 pages, right? Whispers from Static, right? Is that what the sections are called? Whispers from Static?
From the Static, yeah.
From the Static, yeah. So I was like, no, wait, I get to be in zoomed way in. We're in the thriller mode. And then now I'm explaining these really interesting technical words and concepts, and kind of guiding people through and informing folks. And then there are sections like the section where it's like, oh my God. So the ChatGPT voice here, he told it, the prompt was, you have to sound like Gen Z, and you included so many things. There were all these emojis and specific bits of slang, and I was like, yeah. Well, here we go, baby, because there's literally no way to do this without.
Do this?
There's no way to do this without being as all the way, turn it up to 11, basically, was kind of the only way. I was like, the only way to sell this is to go all the way. So let me tell you, just thanks, Perry, for giving me the chance to just explore that, because I had to stop several times while I was recording it, just because I was like, I would try an emoji or something, and then I would crack myself up, where I'd be like, oh God, no, that's not right. So it was really fun, and stretched me in a really fun way. So thank you.
Yeah, I could imagine. I was looking at that because I was simultaneously frustrated and very happy at the same time that I was not going to be reading this book myself, because I've gone through the process of reading one of my books, and it is a grueling gauntlet that you throw yourself through when you're narrating a book. Truly. Yeah, it is. I don't know that people understand what it's like to sit in a booth like what you're in for hours a day, throwing yourself at it, trying to make sure that you don't just, go from one energy level to another, or your voice change by the end of the day to where it sounds like you're a different person at the end of a session, and all of that. So, so again, thank you. And you did crush that part. That was like the litmus test. And somebody else online got to it before I did. And they immediately posted about it on LinkedIn and said, like, the highlight of my day was listening to this book when it got to this section.
That makes my day. So
yeah,
that's so much fun.
You said something that I feel like is so true in a lot of creative medium, which is that you have to go 100% on something, or else you can't sell it. Especially something like that that's so weird. It's that
people
commitment,
could hear
right?
the fear.
It takes 100. You're absolutely right, and that's. I mean, we work our whole lives. We work for years and years, always trying to be better and trying to. It's the idea that it's like it takes a lifetime to make it sound easy. It's like. Mm-hmm. You say it sounds easy. At the end of the day, we're striving to make it sound easy, but you don't see the years and years of work and struggle and sacrifice and kind of waffling and self-doubt that goes into that. And it really
way
takes
too hard about every weird muscle in your throat while you're
yeah. It's as I pop my own mic. It's fine. I do this for a living. So I only do that. But no, it takes incredible commitment, and I do think a lot of folks don't realize that. It's not even other actors. When they sit down and if they have to do an audiobook, and that's if they're used to doing like commercials and on camera stuff, they can learn, but it's usually there's an adjustment to it. It's a lot more intimate. It's a lot, and then the idea that if you're in the booth and you're on a hard deadline and you're in that booth 6 hours a day for 4 days, and you might be playing a million characters or what. And it takes a great deal of, just commitment. It's like the idea of the fact that anyone can write a full-length book from start to finish is incredible to me. And I really, one of the reasons I do what I do is because I love, and why I found my home in audiobooks, narration is because I love writers so much. And I'm always so fascinated to learn about what are they doing to, what is your process like? Are you, do you fly by the seat of your pants and you just put a bunch of stuff on the page, or do you agonize over every word? Like I used to produce an NPR show about video game music. It was a syndicated show called Gameplay. When I used to work at our NPR affiliate up here in Interlaken, I used to have to write my own scripts, and someone else would help me edit and everything. But I agonized over the writing of a script, and that's a script of something that's going to be 5 minutes, 6 minutes long of me actually talking at the end of the day. And I was like, wow, this is just the amount of back and forth and kind of stumbling and fumbling in the dark that you have to do, But then again, I know that's also how you learn. That's the only way you can learn, right?
I relate to that so much. Everything you said.
I would love to get a couple of your thoughts of do you read a lot of books? And I'm sure sometimes the information just washes over you, kind of like, you're the conduit to it getting on tape and you don't retain a lot. But given, the fact that it's been a few months since you've gone through that, what are the points, if any, from this book that stick with you?
What connected me right away to your writing here, Perry, was that I felt a sense of kind of practical thinking and optimism. There was kind of a warmth and an optimism and a humor that I immediately connected to, because we're learning. I mean, in FAIK, we're learning about stuff that can be pretty scary and stuff that is there is a lot of talk in the book about the unbelievable pace of change and things. So we're talking about stuff that is, it's upsetting and it's unsettling in our hearts when we think about, the ways that bad actors can harm huge groups of people. And so I loved that you, through it all, kind of threaded this needle that was like, okay, let's be practical. Let's talk about what specifically are the threats. What are some ways that it can be used in a positive way and it can help us? And kind of finding a balance between being practical and I don't know, having a certain sense of confidence in the future and an optimism. I liked the balance of, we don't want to be Pollyanna and be completely just wide-eyed and have no idea what's happening in the ways that we're being taken advantage of, nor do we want to fall into the trap of becoming deeply cynical and being like, well, screw it. I can't reach anyone. No one can reach me. We're all in our little echo chambers. I give up. So that that really spoke to me. The idea of it's like there's a message of don't give up. Here's some tools to help you, and just know that it's a journey and we're all on it. And this isn't the end of the world. We are there. There's just it's a time of cataclysmic change in so many ways, and yet there's things we can still do, and we can learn and teach others. And I found that quite empowering. And I was a little, nervous getting started and just thinking, at the time this book came to me and thinking the subject matter, I was like, it's going to be very interesting. But I'm anxious about this stuff already.
Yeah.
But I found it really fascinating. And that in particular, just a sense of optimism, I think, through something tough.
This is the FAIK Files.
I do have one other question related to the book, and then I know Mason has some questions too. But I'm wondering, as somebody who picks up the book, because I've not had this experience since I'm the one that wrote it, but somebody that picks up the book, they know they're going to read the whole thing, which is different than some people that pick up nonfiction books too. Was there an expectation in your mind about what would be covered that, for whatever reason, I didn't put in there, or I threaded the needle a different way than you expected?
Oh, that's a great question. I wouldn't say that I was terribly surprised necessarily at the overall bent or the overall message we were getting. However, I will say that just a lot of the details were things I had never really learned about before. I found it very fascinating. Maybe this is something that was unexpected, because I enjoyed learning a little about psychology of the psychology of why bad actors do what they do, and I found it fascinating that you're connecting, when somebody does a vishing scam or something like that and is trying to take advantage, they're using the same techniques as people have been using for like thousands of years, right? Literally, like this goes back to people like, haves and have-nots. This goes back to people trying to take advantage of other people for whatever reason. And it was amazing to me. And I don't know that I had thought of it that way ever before, but really learning about that they're using psychological tools that have been around for so long, and they're like cockroaches. They're just it's a really evolutionarily a really good model that seems to just survive because they work.
Yeah. And this is just one more tool in the toolkit. Yeah. The phrase that's come to me since the book, I think, and it's definitely in there in the words, but maybe not as succinct as I might say it right now, is I've kind of gotten to the point where I don't care if something's a deep fake or not a deep fake. I care more about whether it's intentionally deceptive or not, because there's this AI sludge that's going to be all over everything within the next few years, and there's going to be so much fake stuff and so much real stuff, and so much real stuff that's been put through filters and has fingerprints of AI all over it, that whether it's deceptive, I think, is going to be the ultimate marker, not whether it's AI, whether it is AI generated or AI enhanced in some way.
Sure. That reminds me of that as you speak about developing, a healthy kind of skepticism. And I have a child too, where we're trying to cultivate a sense of, okay, let's just have our eyes open when we're consuming a piece of media or whatever. Let's think about, like you said, what's the intention behind this? Is this just a silly video that's just designed to surprise you or shock you or make you laugh or smile, or is this, are we pushing a viewpoint? Are we manipulating? So what is the intent? And I definitely take that with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah,
I know Mason is sitting on his hands ready to ask a question, so I'm going to
I actually just wanted to chime in my agreement that takeaway was big for me too, that when you really break it down, the fact that these techniques are not new, it kind of blunts the scary sharp edge of things. It's easier to say, oh yeah, wait, people have been deceptive forever. It's just the technology. It makes it less overwhelming. And that was, I thought it was cool that you mentioned that, because that was also a takeaway that I felt too.
Yeah, that was the really big purpose for like going all through all the cheap fake tactics and image cropping and recontextualization of film clips and all that is all that would bypass any deepfake detector that's out there, because it's real. But it's even potentially more damaging than some of the deepfake stuff that might, at least for right now, have some tells, or there might be something that would detect it later on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you reminded me somehow in here of another thing that I hold on to myself in my own relationship with, deceptive tech and how AI is impacting my world of voiceover and stuff like that, and audiobooks. I have to try to focus on the positives in my own work and, connect to like, what can I do? We want to try to take action. And that's a very actory thing, I guess, to say too, because it's all about, what is your action? What are you, we use a lot of verbs to motivate ourselves in the booth to connect to a character. And of course, when I'm doing nonfiction, my character becomes you. It's now I need to kind of like mind meld with you, the author, and channel whatever your message is through. And when I think about how AI affects voiceover, there is a lot of like panic language around it. And there's a voice actor who I respect hugely, a friend of mine who is actually, he's also works as a business consultant for voice actors specifically. So the VO strategist is how he markets himself, and his name is Tom Deere. Hi, Tom. I don't know if you'd ever listen to this, but he's amazing, and I've learned a great deal from him. He gave talks on AI at a conference that I went to, and I just couldn't have agreed more with his take, which was basically like, number one, let's all take a deep breath. Number two, it's here. It's not coming. It's here. It's already affecting, everything. Three, it was like, let's learn about, the bad ways it can be used. And then basically like, there are a lot of tools out there and ways that this can benefit us. And, and there was also his message ends up being one that's, let's be practical, but also positive. Stay positive. Stay frosty, but stay positive. And are there ways we can harness this technology? And I don't know who I heard originally make this metaphor, but another one, because I'm a musician by background too. I was an opera singer for almost 10 years, and I was a trumpet player before that. So
holy lungs.
As a musician, and I've done all kinds of weird but cool stuff that I'm proud of in my life. But done all kinds of weird stuff, but. Every era we talk about like VCRs are going to mean that no one's going to make shows or movies anymore. Drum machines means that in 5 years, no one's even going to know how to play drums anymore. A thing that I connect to is the idea that, well, look what happened. What happened was some jobs did go away. Some things were damaged or destroyed. Also, people still need to connect with each other. We need each other, and it's just fun to make music. Therefore, people still play guitar and drums, even though I can simulate it, with incredible synthesizer technology, whatever. And so it's like, it's really just expanded and made room for something new. Drum machines are also a part of art. They are co-opted into their own art form. So I was like, that is my take on it a lot of the time is and that's what I hold on to. It's cataclysm, and we're going to lose things and gain things, and but also I just think we need to tell stories to each other. We need to connect, and I just don't think computer-driven things are going to replace the human need to be with each other.
The drum machine analogy is fantastic, because there are synthetic drum sounds that are core to modern music. But it doesn't mean that the talent for figuring out how to create a great beat has gone away, right? Sure. The TR-808 drum machine sound from the 80s persist to today, and people will put that on drum pads that they actually hit because they want to be able to replicate that in concerts.
And there's something historically apt about that comparison that I had never really thought of, which is that I don't want to use the word democratization because it's overused, but the fact that recording technologies became accessible to home users, the advent of home studios and home recording at all means we are hearing music. The barrier to entry to produce music and share it with other people is so much lower. And that has happened in like very recent history, and it has enabled artistic creation from individuals who might not otherwise be able to create and share their voices easily. And so that is totally an upside that I think we will see as one of the silver linings and positives from the advent of AI.
I love Keith, that. Have you heard an AI voice yet that you've discovered after hearing that it's AI that the first time you heard it, you thought it may have been real?
Not. I will say not yet. However, I'm not going to tell myself something that isn't true and say it's not going to happen to me sometime. Yeah, it hasn't happened to me yet. Partly because I will say, I mean, my bias is that I'm just kind of, I sort of am actively not engaging with it in a lot of ways. Like I have listened to like brief little clips, but they've only been clips where it was pretty evident. Okay. You know, and I know that I know how things have just in leaps and bounds how powerful the technologies have become. It's really wild. So yeah, I know it's only a matter of time till I get fooled a bit. However, I will say, I think part of it is that just the human experience and the way that a storyteller communicates that, especially, you know, someone who's devoted themselves to storytelling well, is there are so many imperfections in the best way. There's so many little oddities and things that, because nothing is ever going to surprise in the moment an AI, right? Like it's a simulacrum, right? Did I say that right? It's, even if it does it unbelievably well, and for a little bit we're going, yeah, wow, I can't believe that, but it can't be surprised in the moment and have a sudden reaction to something. I mean, this happens to narrators all the time. You've prepared your text and you're having a good time, and one day you're relying on your muscle memory because your head is somewhere else. Other days you're firing on all cylinders, and a line just emotionally hits you in a way that totally surprises you, and you're like, I have to take a break. I'm too emotional. It's like, I trying to narrate this conversation, between a mother and her little boy is just like ruining me right now. And like that, those little things, and that's, I think, the beauty of the human connection is that we can find ways to keep those imperfections a part of the product. We're literally like different people every day, and there's something really beautiful about that to me. And so, I narrate in a lot of different genres. I narrate a lot of romance actually as well. And in the romance space, these are stories about, obviously they're about intimacy and about healing, and they can be about people overcoming their traumas and things. And it's, it's hard. It is quite hard for me to imagine somebody feeling safe, feeling like they can derive real emotional comfort from an AI-driven voice. That said, I don't know the future, but I think also people want to know. I think it's like why it's fun to play guitar and listen to guitar, right? My thought is, even if you can fool me, and the AI is creating a riveting read of this giant fantasy series, I do think when I know that it's not a person, I think there's just something disingenuous, and I feel kind of hurt by that. Because I'm like, I want to know that the great Simon Vance is reading me a story right now. I want to know that, and that knowledge is important to me.